Okay,
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the City Council Works Session of Tuesday, April 30th. Call the meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda.
also moved as amended.
Right, we want to amend it to switch number 2 and number 1 around.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. Next, we will have public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make public comment? Yep. Remember a name and mailing address under 3 minutes and kind and respectful.
I'm Beth Holland. I am at P.O. Box 132 in Cannon Beach, 97110. I'm here tonight to report on the OPRD meeting that occurred last week and to tell you about the positive response we got from the Oregon Parks and Rec staff in our request to join our property with the existing state park on Haystack Hill. The request that we're making really is necessitates that it both be the city and the state that participate, as this will become permanent public land. And the joining of our 2 properties allows that to happen. We also have the deed that John Yon created back in 1969 to protect the parcel, the existing 9 acres that are up there now. And our intention is to use that deed to join our properties in perpetuity so that there is no break between the land. Whether the land ends up in state or city ownership is a discussion that needs to occur going forward. The city has a representative coming here in the next few weeks, Tabitha Hendrickson, and she would like to have a discussion with the city about ways to move this forward. So we're hoping that, and in the next few days, I'll be sending out packets or information about the OPRD meeting, their staff report, our families' testimony, and just so that you have any information you want, you can certainly call. And we will be hosting public gatherings up on the hill as we get moving now. So we hope you'll come. And, it's just such a positive thing. It's going to be good forever. And it really deserves your support now because it's got to happen soon. We're not in a position we have to settle the estate. So thank you for your time. Any questions?
Yeah, so you said Tabitha's coming where? You said the Tabitha from State Parks is coming, but where is she coming?
She would be coming here to Cannon Beach, but she could also, if we did have a work session scheduled, she could come in on a Zoom so that you could all meet with her. And in a work session, we could certainly describe many, reasons why we think this might occur, can occur, and why, the pathwork that we've been laying. So I think, and having a discussion between the state and the city could be invaluable at this point because it sort of propels us. At the state meeting, we realized, we have our connection of trail system through the back of town here, and it goes up into the park where it basically ends at the top of Haystack Lane, which means people coming through the park go down Haystack Lane, cross Hemlock, go to Center Street, down to the beach. With the addition of our people will come through the park and come through a beautiful corridor of trees and drop right down onto the rock, completing that trail to the end, to the front of Haystack Rock. So it's a permanent good for the city as well as for everyone. So
Do you know what date Tabitha's going to be here? What date she will?
said within 3 to 4 weeks.
So you'll let us know because we have to,
Well, I'm sure we could firm it up with her. If you set a date for a work session, I'm sure we can have her here along with anybody else that you'd like to meet with concerning this. NCLC is not going to jump in and support us until we have your commitment. That's one thing they've made clear. They are supporting us, but they need either city or state, and hopefully both, to make progress on this donation. We also have very generous donors stepping up, and we believe we're in a position with enough exposure in the media. We're going to start reaching out far and wide to let people know that this is an opportunity that needs to be dealt with and hopefully in a very positive way. So
Great, okay.
So what does support look like right now?
financial support.
Support look like from us?
Support would be talking to the state about options. And I did send you a letter, I'll send it again, but it was basically crafted by John Wickersham from NCLC. But he, after a meeting with Bruce here and Lisa, it was the options that he came up with are in the letter that I sent to you before, but we'll do it again. And those options include, you know, stewardship roles, maintaining the trails, which have never been maintained. I mean, in the 51 years it's been in my family, we've just, it's neighbors walk through there. And basically that's what we want. You know, there could be addition of some benches, but John Young's deed clearly makes it a habitat, open land, you know, trail, simple. You know, there could be certainly for those of you who've been up there and realized the sweeping view we have and just how incredible it is, that there could be benches, there could be an expansion to the viewing areas as well. So
So right now, just support of this plan,
that's,
support of the plan to,
yes.
for State Park to acquire it. Okay.
And, you know, and in some sort of relationship with the city.
Yeah.
And in the long term, I think State Parks doesn't really want a lot of little parcels and it's a viewing area and Jan, Steve, that's the way it has to remain. It's a state, Haystack Hill State viewing area. And that would be our land as well, which is a beautiful addition.
I think of it sort of analogous to the park, you know, down in Tolovana, because there's sort of we do certain things for that park as well as the state. It's kind of a mixture of stewardship.
How involved is the North Coast Land Conservancy in that?
Like I said, they're right with us and John Wickersham's been very supportive. Called the meeting with Bruce and Lisa here and does want to find a way forward, but that's made it clear that they're not going to take donations until, and our donors are not going to donate until we have a recipient. And that recipient has to be in the public domain.
Yeah.
So it's either the city or the state and very supportive. And I think we have the boards. I know we have the board support. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay, we'll move into our first discussion.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Additional public.
Oh, yeah. And then I forgot about Zoom. See, you got me all.
I'm she's my better half. I'm just here to support her. The Ecola Creek Forest Reserve, Southwind, the old school property are all amazing acquisitions in the last decade. I'm going back to I don't know, when we passed the bond, 2012, I guess. And that really speaks to the progressive nature of the character of our city. And I think this 4 acres, even though it's just 4 acres, it's not 800 acres, could be another major step towards cementing our reputation. At any time in the last 50 years, 51 years, the land could have been developed into housing. And we could be looking at a number of McMansions on the top of that hill from almost every part of town. So for a number of reasons that didn't happen. And now Beth and her 6 siblings are resolute in their desire to find private donations and make it part of the Yon property. As any estate attorney can attest, for 7 siblings to be on the same page is sort of miraculous. I hope the council can seriously consider how to make this happen in a work session and give potential donors assurance that the city, state, and NCLC can work together. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to make public comment? Okay, is there anyone online that would like to make public comment? If you'd raise your hand, please. Okay. Now, we'll move on to our first discussion item, which is the new city hall finishes. Council chamber.
Are you gonna,
And Leslie
Joining.
Leslie's on, and I think she's gonna do a little intro to kind of summarize where we are at this point, and then I'll come up there and start walking through some things.
Great. Good evening, Leslie.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
So I'll let Maya get up and show you what we've brought here in a moment, but just to recap. First off, I appreciate everyone's comments last week on our finishes. And so we're excited to bring you some alternates. These specifically apply to the City Hall Council Chamber carpet. So what we have, I believe, is what we presented last time that you saw on the board, and then we do have a couple alternates. One in particular introduces some color, and I will let Maya go from there.
So this side of the table is what you've already seen, and all of this is actually on the material board that's back there. This carpet specifically is the proposed council chambers carpet, and this is the one that we have brought options to discuss. Just to talk about maybe some of the reasonings behind some of it, but the palette that you're looking at here, you've got your paint colors, you've got the LVT, and then you've got your cabinetry. So these are all the things that are gonna play off of each other, whether they're in the same exact room or just adjacent. This is what you're looking at. So what we were showing, and I'll talk about this later, hopefully I won't forget.
Oh, yeah, that really interests me. Okay.
So this will be an interior wood sample for the windows, essentially, that we'll talk about. But to talk specific to the carpet, what I'd like to do is just kind of remove an option so that we're not distracted. Just to kind of take it one by one, and if there's an immediate reaction, I'm like, love it, hate it. It's typically what I tell people to kind of just embrace. So again, this would be the city council carpet, potentially bringing in a little bit more color, playing off of some of the warm and cool colors together. This would still remain, and Leslie, refresh my memory on the other carpet. That's just the general office carpet. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the fields carpet is the secondary carpet. I believe you brought down the fields carpet that was on the board that the department heads looked and selected.
Yep.
And then we do have an alternate field carpet, potentially based on what the council.
I wasn't gonna tell them that.
Oh, okay, no, sorry.
Sound back now.
Yeah. So this would be in like the offices, the open office space, but this carpet specifically would be just in the council chambers.
The only other place we have the council chamber carpet is in the conference rooms.
Conference rooms, yeah. So some of those gathering spaces would have something different than just your general office carpet. There's that option. This option. Any immediate reaction?
Yes,
Okay.
of course. I actually like both of those better than the other one. I find that they are warmer, and that's what I was looking for, was warmth. I'm not a fan of gray, especially in this climate, but I understand that that's the choice. And the reason I like some grays can be warm and some grays are very cool. And I find both of these grays are warmer. As far as hiding any kind of dirt, the one on the bottom would more, obviously. But then you have to think about, I'm not sure how in a big field, how much that sort of reddish brown and brown would sort of be dominating.
Right.
And that
So-
concerns me.
Back, there's a bigger picture of it like installed.
Yeah.
So there's-
And it's pretty dominant. So I guess I would say, even though I'm not a gray fan, I would still say that at least it's a warm gray and it's a warm looking carpet compared to the
And then
the gray and black one.
picture on the back.
Yeah.
Or the install.
Can I see the bottom? Yeah,
This one?
yeah, because I like this one better. Yeah, I like this one better.
I like them both. I mean, I would be happy with either one of them.
The other thing I always say, it's nice to see them face up. But if you take a step back, this is how you're gonna experience them. Because the different colors will either come up or recede depending on.
Well,
I like it.
if you do have that hiding piece of wood that you're hiding from us for the window finishes, if that indeed is the window finish, that goes very nicely with that carpet. Because it
It does.
picks up the sort of
It does.
the reddish tones and the, you know, the brown, and it's warm and it sort of makes the whole thing look warmer. So I think that if that is indeed a possibility for window color,
This is the
window
one that we're
framing,
proposing at the
then
moment, yeah.
it would look great with that.
Yeah.
You know,
I like that one.
Fury?
I think I preferred the more gray one than the one with the color.
Brandon?
he doesn't care.
Yeah,
And Brandon speaks for himself.
I prefer that one, but I don't care either.
I'm okay. with it.
Yeah,
And I definitely like those two better than the
Yeah.
one.
These are better than the original list, okay?
Yeah. So Lisa's our resident carpet.
I'm happy with either one of them, to tell you the truth. I mean, as far as, you know, I just don't, that is fairly dominant, the brown in there, and that, you know, makes me a little bit nervous that it's sort of, oh, you know,
I think this one's just.
it's a lot.
gray. This one's just,
Think too gray.
yeah, we need a little brightening up.
Okay, I'll go along with that, especially if that's the window trim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is nice in those special spaces too, that's kind of that fun, exciting little pop.
Yeah,
And, you know, your more utilitarian kind of everyday stuff is a little bit more subdued.
yeah.
Nice way to, if you're gonna do it, pop in the public areas.
In the chamber, is that what we're talking about for the window casings or whatever, is that close to what the roof, the ceiling will be? Because it's gonna be a open ceiling.
The ceiling, Leslie, the exposed roof deck, similar.
Yeah, so that will be the exposed car deck and the exposed glulam, which we can stain similar to the window trim and divided lights.
Yeah,
No,
I wouldn't be opposed to just letting it be natural too, because they're not next to each other, right? And you're looking
I
at
agree.
it vertically, you know, horizontally and in different, so
Yeah.
them not being an exact match is
but
actually.
it doesn't have to be exact match. It's just, that my only point was that there's going to be
Yes.
a considerable amount of wood.
Yeah.
And people seem to like that wood with that carpet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
except that-
that's true. The ceiling will be natural wood.
Yeah, and I think I like mixing woods. I do. I like mixing dark woods and light woods and all different kinds of woods. I think that, you know, and even though that's not really wood, it looks like wood. So,
This will be wood.
oh, that will be?
It'll be,
Oh, okay.
right, it's a wood cladding on the interior side of the window.
Not plastic? Oh,
What,
okay.
a thing I neglected to mention last time on the building materials is that the windows themselves are wood windows. So the window frames are wood, and that wood will remain exposed on the interior. And then we have a more durable aluminum finish on the exterior of the windows, but the windows
Right.
themselves, the whole structure of the window is wood.
Oh, that's nice. But we could talk about maybe the beams when we see it.
Mhm.
About whether they should be stained or not, or just natural. Because natural is lighter. I mean, you want light. In this climate, we need light. And we do, especially in the winter.
Vitamin D,
Hmm?
vitamin D.
Okay,
Yeah,
So we're good with that?
yeah,
Okay,
okay. Thank you.
great. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our second item, the Cannon Beach Elementary School restrooms, audiovisual system and finishes.
I am going to be sharing my screen here on that.
Right.
Okay. So this was the packet that we sent over. This first page here is talking about a few different things. I'll zoom in to the bathroom conversation. So there was discussion about doing a gender neutral bathroom rather than a dedicated men's and women's room. So we wanted to show you what that would look like at the lobby space as well as over here in the gym space. Basically, what you get with those is you have just an open public toilet room lobby that anybody could come in and use the wash basin to wash their hands. But then all of these toilet compartments are individual private rooms, full walls, full doors, total privacy, rather than walking in and having a stall system that you would see in a multi-fixture men's or women's room. You're still able to get the same number of fixtures that we need for our plumbing calcs for the use. So that's what that would look like.
3 in each, right? Is that what I'm reading?
There's a total, so in this one at the lobby, there's 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inside. And then what you see adjacent to that are the 2 unisex bathrooms that are just a single use from the exterior. If you look up at the screen here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the interior lobby. And then these 2 bathrooms are accessed from the courtyard area.
Oh, okay.
So that didn't change. What I think we had before when this was a dedicated men's and women is there was 3 and 3 each. If I remember correctly. And then when you go over here to the gym, same thing, you come walk in and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And those are for men and women to use.
Any and all.
But they do have a door that extends floor to ceiling.
It's a fully enclosed room. It's just a tiny little room that happens to have a toilet in it. Yeah. So that's what those gender neutral restrooms look like, that the actual private function is individual use, and then you come out and wash your hands in a more of a public space.
So same number of fixtures,
Overall, same number.
increased construction costs due to the additional walls and doors.
Fans, lights.
Any idea how much an additional that is?
We do, and I can skip to that, or
Is that all gender restrooms alternate? And it's an added cost,
Added cost.
added cost,
added, yeah.
It's added cost.
The added cost is
60,000.
59.
Total,
Yeah.
Okay.
total, about, yeah, almost
Wait a minute. Is that the total
for
Is that-
both the, g-
cost? Which
Just
is,
the added cost onto what is already included in the budget.
okay,
So right now in the budget, we have the traditional bathroom setup covered.
and what do we have in there for that this time?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can pull that up. As the meeting goes on, I can circle back to that.
Okay,
But so we broke them out. So the gym restroom cost to change to the all gender is 23,693. And the lobby restroom is 35,382. They both end up with 5 individual bathrooms each. The reason the difference is because in the current design with the traditional bathroom, there's actually 6 stalls in the gym space, and we're going down to 5. And in the lobby restroom, we're going up 1. So there's a difference of 2 essentially.
So same number of fixtures overall.
overall, yeah. Just reallocated a bit.
And I don't suppose you happen to have the previous.
The existing layout, you know what, I didn't bring that one, I'm sorry. I might be able to find it if I stop sharing screen. I probably wouldn't, you guys to have me sift through my emails to find it, but
So this 59,000 is in addition to the other budget.
yes.
Yeah.
So if we didn't do this, it would be just the original budget, okay.
That's what you saw.
Starts to eat away at contingency.
well, that's what I'm just want to make sure. So there is enough contingency at this point to cover this and the other things that are Or is there not?
So right now, our budget captures the other design. Anything you're seeing here would be in addition to that. So we'd have to carve out money by adjusting other things within the project to get back down with the budget if you select any of these alternates here.
But why couldn't the contingency cover the extra cost?
It could. We just want to make sure that going into it, we're accounting for any changes that may happen between now and we go to GMP, which means like if for some reason something in the project cost goes up between now and then, that could eat at the contingency pretty quickly. Any conditions could also eat at the contingency pretty quickly. So it's a risk to start adding pieces and taking out contingency now. It can be done, but it's at a risk.
Because there could be other things that come up. High-
Yeah, that we
Things
have.
coming in higher than budgeted or unexpected issues that
Yep.
have to be dealt with.
And that's why you have contingency.
Right.
Yeah. So right now in the state of Oregon, we're not required to have.
No, code technically is asking for separate individual men's and women's rooms. They're starting to allow the gender neutral as you kind of ask or push, and it depends on where you are. You know, some jurisdictions are more willing to actually accept that. It hasn't, I don't think, quite caught on. I think it's coming. It takes up more space.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more expensive to do, so, but it is becoming more popular.
If we went with non-gender, if we went to the original
Mhm.
and we wanted to retrofit in the future, could we do that?
The challenge with that, and you gotta read the code closer, but each one of these rooms, you have to put a light, sprinkler head, a floor drain, a full door. You'd have a full door in there, like for metal door frame, with door. So it's probably a lot more work to cut out the slab and add the floor drains and then run the sprinkler lines. It end up being more expensive than what I'm showing here, most likely. But it's always possible. I believe these are the same footprint.
I think the footprints are very similar. I don't think they're exactly the same, but as far as fitting it in, yes, likely you'd be able to do that. The complications of actually doing it are just different down the road.
So if we had traditional washrooms, there's still 2 gender neutral washrooms
Outside.
available.
Yep.
Yep.
From the outside entrance, so that we would still have them. So,
That's a good point.
Let's do it to the north, yeah. It's right there, the unisex right there.
because I do know that there's a lot of folks in our community who'd be very upset to think we weren't having any gender neutral washrooms. So I think it's important that they're included.
But we also have to weigh in the additional cost.
Right. And they're so much nicer. I mean, these kind of washrooms are all over Europe and they're just so nice. But I don't know, if we can't afford it, we can't afford it, as long as we still have 2. And those 2 are, the 2 that are from the outside are not going to be additional. They're built into the budget.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
And I think
Anything about washroom science? And if you have a lineup of people for the restrooms, which version goes faster?
oh, yeah. Oh, and I think that's part of the conversation that it
Gender neutral
right.
could potentially
fix that.
accommodate more people.
Sure.
Yeah, it goes much faster.
So I was gonna say, I think this is a conversation and then it's maybe kind of bank it because there's all these other things to talk about. And the question is gonna be, where do you want to put that extra money? Because this might be the priority number 1. The gym acoustics might be 1, the,
Okay.
AV stuff might be 1. We don't know. So we're trying to show you like, okay, here's an option and here's the cost associated and here's this other option. Which one's gonna win out?
Okay,
prioritize. And we can come back to these throughout.
We'd really like to get you guys, to get to budget at GMP and then be able to say, oh, we have this extra money, let's go ahead and make the change. Versus then try to put this in now, and then we come to you all in August and it's over budget again, and then we're back to the drawing board.
Right.
yeah, there's some point in the process where if it potentially some point in the process where if we weren't using contingency, we could say, okay, let's use that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, once we get through the next couple months and we get closer to that final contract number and we really start to shake out what all the pieces are, that would be a good time to reintroduce this.
Sure. Yeah.
Especially if we aren't changing spaces, this fits really well into the space we already are creating. And so we can absolutely take a look at alternates or.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so the other item here, let's talk about the projector screens. So the classroom that would have the operable partition between the two, so it up to one larger classroom, we have talked about providing a projection screen as well as a projector. And we'll see a little bit more information as I go through here. But for that classroom building, this is where we were proposing, and it would be about 15 wide, and I think it's a little taller than the 4 feet. But it would be a projection paint that would just be applied. You'll see on some of these other renderings that we're proposing like a border around it just to kind of quantify it. So if some are doing something, they know, this is the extent of that. That's the classroom. In the gym, we were proposing a drop-down screen up on this north wall here. So there's a quick intro. As we click through, this is looking towards the gym, and there's a lot going on here, so we'll get into the rest of the details, but this one specifically is trying to talk about this wall-hung projection screen up here. It would be automated, so that you push a button and the screen drops down in front of those windows, and then we would have a ceiling mounted, right, or a projector that would forecast onto that. So that's what that one would look like. This plan is showing you a couple of different things, and I'm going to just focus on the projector still. So again, that projection wall, the thought here was that if you did open up this operable partition, and if we wanted to just kind of pack the house and show a movie, here's a seating arrangement to let you see really what the logistics look like while maintaining some aisles and egress paths out of that space. So again, this wall mounted, so it's really hung from the soffit that would be in that room, the projector that would be there. Don't recall if we had. Yeah, so you can sort of see here in that classroom where that's the projection screen. And this soffit that's along here, you're not seeing on the back side of it would be where that projector is mounted on that soffit.
Well, there's a huge, it's quite a big price differential
Right.
between the two. And I think, the gym thing looks fabulous, but I think I want to see some kind of projection thing there so that, there's Friends of Haystack Rock has lectures where you can project slides or movies, or we could even have movie night in the winter or all kinds of things. Or, what was that? They had that film festival for, who was that? They had a film festival that we had one time that was great. And so, I guess I think the lesser expensive one would do the trick.
Only having one,
Hmm?
only having one,
The classroom one.
right?
Yeah, because I think the gym one is so expensive. And for both of them, it's $91,000. Where's that going to come from?
I think the classroom one is absolutely requirement.
Yeah.
And I question the use of the gym one, whether it would have
Never know.
enough use.
It might not, but that's not my question. My question is the cost.
Okay, comment on the gym one.
Mhm.
Did in a previous project repeated 24 times and it didn't work. Um, The projection power, the light that is able to come out of the screen has got to be able to overcome the ambient light. And then if, say where the clock is where the screen would be, you're gonna have light or windows on both sides. And so it's got to be even brighter as far as the projection and sharper. And that's hard to accomplish. And I think that the other situation is simpler. And that would be my recommendation, just because I'm been burned by the technology once. And we're not talking about projecting anywhere near as far as what this would be required to do.
Yeah, I think that classroom thing's ingenious, that they have paint now that is a projection paint. I think I didn't even know that. I think it's really cool. And if it works and if, you know, you have that built-in projector, I think that's fabulous.
The classroom, the view of the classroom projection, these are two classrooms, right? So it's not just one classroom. So then there's that question about the partition.
Right, so in this instance would be bringing that operable partition back into the budget as well, correct? Because we pulled that out as part of the VE process.
Okay.
So it is a hand in hand thing, so really, it's not just that number.
I thought we had it back in.
I thought so.
We did, yeah, I just wanted
Is it back in again?
I just wanted to make sure what I was looking at, because it looks like a huge classroom.
Yeah, this is the two.
And how many people would that seat for if somebody wanted to show a movie?
So on this one here, we are showing 128 seats as shown. Again, to maintain some access aisles and egress paths and such.
Well, and down the line, if somebody wanted to apply for a grant to get the projection screen in the gym, we found there was a need for it. That's something that could be added, correct? After the buildings were functional.
Yeah, but we could add conduit. Like power and
Yeah, I think classroom is needed from day one and
Yeah.
gym might be something we could add later.
130 people, that's a good number.
Okay.
Well, to your point, and I'm glad you asked that, because it's exactly what I was going to ask, is who stated that perhaps the technology will develop and.
Right. Yeah.
Do down.
So classroom from day one, gym definitely future.
Right.
So the other item shown here, is it on this page? No, it's not, sorry. We have included the classroom renderings in here, which will tie in more to the finishes that are up there, so we will come back to this, but as I kind of pass through them, I want to at least mention them. These are all showing different finish materials applied to the classroom, so we picked the same two classrooms that are open into one larger. But as I scroll through here, you'll see really the main changes are, I think, the flooring for the most part. Yeah. So like an LVT carpet, paints are changing a bit. On a carpet. Yes, that was LVT, sorry. That's an LVT again. There's another kind of carpet, and we'll get into those in a minute, but I wanted to keep going. Talk about the acoustics. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna jump around on this just because I want to stay on the budget section. So this plan here is showing you the acoustical layouts for the gym itself. We have 4 different options that are shown in the rendering, which I'll speak more to. But this one is showing you a plan view, so it's showing where those ceiling applied acoustical panels would be, as well as an elevation of the wall where you'd have a wall applied. And this is the one that we started really diving into the pricing. And Dave got into the details, and that's where you have some really specific numbers. Our assumption in talking with the acoustics engineer on some of the per square footage numbers, we thought that this option number one here was going to be the lesser cost. So I think that's why we focused most of our attention on it. There are a couple other things that we are considering. When you're talking about the use of the gym for sports, balls, such flying around in there, our thought here was, you can see, and I'll zoom in, these acoustical panels are just direct applied to the surface of the gym structure. So they're nice and high, they're tucked right up in there. And that's where you're getting that acoustical value. And then these black and red little geometric shapes here are the wall applied acoustical panels. That's the one option that we started with to talk pricing. These other options, this is a version of that. It's just that where those acoustical panels are installed, it's just more down the center of the space. This other option is, and maybe you want to speak a little bit to the actual names of them and how they're kind of tucked and undulating.
So this is called a lapidary panel. So each one of these kind of swoops or scallops is individually anchored to the ribs of the structure of the roof. So these will kind of curve with it. If you're in if you're looking at it in an elevation, it'll curve with the barrel vault. And they are a kind of tougher acoustical panel that is wrapped. So as they are at an angle, that wrapping and the panel inside is a little heavier and denser. So it won't sag on the sides where it is a little bit more at an incline. So it will sag a little because of gravity, but it'll stay in the shape that it's formed in that image.
Is it more expensive?
So this one
Is
all of the options we're showing.
Dollar sign.
that's relative.
Relative. All of the options we're showing are within the budget, or we make a few tweaks here and there, and it will be budget. So it goes to $4 signs, but it's within the budget just to show where they land on the scale. So this one is 3.
And we get to the budget by reducing the quantity.
So this red one is called the wave baffle. It's the same kind of shape of a swoop or a scallop, but they are suspended from the structure. They can be placed at an angle, so if a ball gets up there, it can easily roll off. But this was just one of the options to show of a different acoustic pattern. That one's also a fabric with a little bit tougher of a panel on the inside.
So they're more rigid panels, these last two options. Yeah. So oddly enough, this one was the least expensive once we actually communicated better with Dave and he ran some numbers. But again, I think because of talking about balls getting thrown up there, maintenance, durability, this option 4 and option 3, we kind of are thinking it's probably not the best option, even though they're lowest to mid price. These other two options, option number 2 here, where it's direct applied up in the center of the gym, and this option 1, which kind of has some bands all along the whole arc there, we feel are going to perform better. And to speak to the reason this one currently is the most expensive is as we have it drawn here, and I'll go back to this page. These are the number of panels that would kind of wrap that. So the square footage that we actually got by doing this was, I think, a good 800 square feet more than we actually needed based off of our conversations with the acoustician. So that in and of itself was going to bring that number down. So we have some things to dial in to tweak it, to get it to be right on budget, because we had an allowance of what, 119?
They were currently carrying a budget of 119,000. So by adjusting some of the quantities, the second image actually has almost the correct quantity for those two numbers to, and the ceiling to equal out at 118,500. So
Well, what is the 133?
so what,
Where is that reflected by one of these versions?
Yes.
that first
This
option
one.
is that one of 130 number is including that first option, which has 108 individual panels. And we're gonna, if we can reduce that to 80 panels, which is what's shown in the second option, we get to it within our budget. So the first option you see here is what the image we were working on originally, and then working with Chrissy and I over the last week or so, we've been able to identify a budget bust, bring it back into within our budget by just adjusting the quantities. And so that's the second option, shows that, or a reduced count of option number one, just maybe a couple less.
And so the cool looking ones, 3 and 4, are not practical.
Not practical.
Well, you could get a ball caught up there, right?
I
Like a
could see
suspended
people-
one.
That's their goal
Yeah,
is to get.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not, that wouldn't be cool at all. I mean, I don't think, to have people throwing balls up there. And the
Yeah.
number 3, where they weren't suspended, but they were on the ceiling. Why is that less practical? The wavy one, number 3?
Yeah, this is number 3 here. And I think again, I remember being, of gym age that I go and play, and all the boys, they were like, oh, I can get that in there. I can get that. And I think this is maybe begging for the attempt to like, see if you can get it.
Is there a,
There's a swoop.
There's scallop.
oh, never mind.
It's like this little arc that gets attached at those points, but there's a through that
I
you
didn't
can.
realize that. I thought it was a.
Yeah, it's hard, I think, because it's so dark, but you can see it. There's the arc right there.
Yeah,
So these option 3 and option 4 have the same.
yeah, that's too bad because they look so cool, but
Yeah, agreed. They're fun.
let me ask you, for option 1, why does it have to be black?
It does not.
It does not. So this comes in different colors. This dark gray is kind of like a premium color. So if we changed color, if you wanted it a white, if you wanted it a wood brown, something like that, the price actually would go down. We did a gray to kind of hit in the middle mark, not too colorful, not black. It might look a little bit darker in there. And then with every one of these perspectives, the 4 different options we have, they have a different paint on the underside of the structure. So we will be painting those. And that's one of the materials called out on the sheets. So we have one that's a gray to match the Wiltic panel.
So that's this one.
That's that one to kind of camouflage it. So it does not have to be that dark. Go to the next one. This one has a brown color to kind of mimic that wood. So it could make it a lot more warm in there if you wanted to keep the arc of the panels, but still keep that wood look. So this one kind of looks like a wood, but it's more of like a gray. In there.
It does.
And then this next one. I lied. This is the wood. This is the warm gray. And the other one was the wood. So those are painted. There are different options there. They're also on the table that we can talk about in a sec. But that also comes into just some customization. If you wanted a different color of the baffle, but still didn't want it to stand out, we can color match the paint on the underside of the structure. Though there's options, and that's what we're going to talk about.
Okay, so if we picked either 1 or 2, which are the more practical ones that make the most sense, and then we could come back with some different color,
Mhm.
it would give us some color options.
Absolutely. So you could really say,
That's.
it's pretty heavy. It is pretty heavy. And it's funny how it looks different on screens. I don't remember it looking quite this dark when we were looking at our desktops. But really, yes, you could pick that you like this panel, but we want it a different color. And you could say, but you know what? I want the paint on the ceiling to be this color. So those are things as we talk about the rest of the finished packages too, those all start to play off of each other.
I just like the fact that in option one, it blends a little bit more. The acoustics blend with the ceiling rather than, you know, you got stripes up above you and,
Well, and that's exactly the point too. Like, do you want it to stand out or do you want it to hide away?
Yeah, I want it to stand out. Because I think it breaks up the space. It's a huge space and a huge monochromatic space is just, looks like a cave. And I think that break up the space with some kind of striping or some pattern of some sort. It's much, much more organic and looks a lot nicer.
yeah, to me, it throws more the focus on the south wall, which I like.
I tend to like to see the blending myself, like number one rather.
And then I'm also curious about, you said option one is probably the best acoustically, our best chance at,
Functionally in the space.
okay. And then we're leaving the ceiling structure, so that's going to be visible. And, so I'm just wondering about how much we're covering up then with acoustics and how much is still revealed.
Yes, that was the other, I guess, battle here is that we didn't want to cover up the
Right.
ceiling or the roof structure. We wanted to, it's an element of the space, and we wanted to show it. So that's why we kind of have these breaks in those striping. In our budget reevaluation, if we take some of that away, you'll see it more wood. And that's why we have one of the options to be a brown paint to still signify that it is wood and not try and hide it.
What you're saying with option one is the panels wouldn't necessarily be as wide. Is that where you're talking about? They
Yeah,
could be
we would,
reduced a little bit.
remove some of these panels.
Dustin, you wanted to say something?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everybody. You all had just started to touch on it a little bit. The more acoustic panels that we have, so as represented by option one, it's going to be higher performing acoustically. Option two has them focused on the ridge of the barrel vault, which is where they're most effective, but there are fewer of them. And it's not expected to perform as well as option one. So it's kind of a hard thing to quantify at this stage in the game, but I wanted to make sure you understood that option one is expected to be higher performing acoustically than option two. And if I could just add quickly too, I did have a conversation with Dick Bash with the tribe earlier this week, and this has been a pretty rapid process from, you know, where we ended with the DRB appeal to today. And I don't want to lose sight that there is still ongoing collaboration with the tribe. One goal we have that's not represented in these renderings tonight is that the tribe would like to see if we can economically get some kind of a basket weave pattern achieved with these acoustic panels on the ceiling. And we're looking into that. We don't have any solid solutions to that yet, but we are looking into it. But expect that we will come to you with any minor adjustment in the aesthetics as a result. But I would also caution, as you think about the pricing for these different options, leave a little buffer in there for if that's what I would advise, is to leave some buffer in there because any adjustment to these panels, whether done in the field or by the manufacturer, to achieve that basket weave pattern it will add a little bit of cost.
Is it possible to achieve the basket weave pattern by the use of color?
That's one option. Yep. By the use of color, by maybe changing the shape of the panels so they're not all rectangular, but maybe more mimicking the shape of those panels that you see on the wall that are red and black. And you all probably remember, but I'll just reiterate, red and black are the Clatsop Nehalem tribal colors. So there's methodology there. And I also wanted to point out too, there's acoustics down at the wall level on the barrel vault sides of the gym as well. So you've got some at the roof level, some at the gable ends, and then some at the barrel vault ends as well. So they're all kind of complementing each other. But the more that roof structure is absolutely beautiful, and we want to see some of that exposed. But just yeah, thinking about people playing sports in there, especially pickleball, but also some of the oral arts and the performing arts. And actually the oral arts is probably maybe the most important to think about, where if you're standing at the back of the room, you want to be able to understand what the person is saying on a platform at the other end. And we're going to better achieve that, I think, with option one. But again, it's a hard thing to quantify at this stage, and we'll continue to work with our acoustician to help communicate the difference in acoustical performance between some of these options.
And option one is the most expensive.
That's
Correct.
right.
Still within the budget though,
So
if we fix some things.
Yeah, it would be a reduction in panels to be within the budget, but there's probably a way to achieve the same shape banded up.
I'm really glad you're still talking to the tribe about it.
I read this as basket weave. So this isn't the basket weave we're talking about?
where would basket weave?
You read this up here as basket weave?
Yeah, so that is still basket weave. An earlier development of the acoustics had a basket weave. The more we looked into it, the labor of doing that and
Up at the ceiling.
up at the ceiling was very high. So we kind of took a step back a little bit. But we still have some on the walls as well to incorporate that.
There's a balance for us to find on that, because in my mind, I don't want to have basket weave here and basket weave here and basket weave here. Like, we have to make sure that it's very focused and very intentional. I wasn't on that call with Dustin and Dick, but we can take whichever preference that you guys want to see and take that back and start to add in these tweaks to get that design in better so you can actually see it, fix the paint color, choose some panel colors, talk about a pattern, and then we can show that again.
The basket weave is just on the north wall now, not in the rest of
It's
the.
currently shown on the wall.
Right.
But what?
And they would like to see it incorporated into the
Ceiling.
ceiling, and that's
That's where I think we have to find, like, let's show some things and find the right balance.
creativity.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about the cost of that,
With the basket.
of the, on the panel.
On the ceiling.
Adding too much.
Well, if it's a matter of color,
Yeah,
if it's a matter of color, then it won't be more expensive. It depends.
I just want to see what the cost is gonna be. I don't mind having it on the north wall.
So that's a very new ask. We really haven't gotten into that to vet it more.
It's on both north and south walls.
It is, yeah. So this page that you're looking at, this view over here is looking north. And then this view here is looking back towards Beaver Street. So we are currently showing the wall applications on both of those walls.
I think it's really nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay, so that's that. Again, north wall, south wall. The rest of this stuff is real, just technical information, so it's the spec sheets for those, so I don't know. That you guys want to really sift through those, but again, there's multiple colors that come standard, so we have options. See, here's where you talk about some of these patterns that could start to come in.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
That's the wall one.
easy for me.
So then here, just talking again, those acoustical. So I don't know, Dave, if you have other more specific budget items we want to talk about or really look at it as a global conversation now that we've gone through each of them.
Oh, I think from what I'm understanding is that the ceiling acoustic pricing gets the rating that we need for it to be a nice space to experience sound in. And then the wall acoustics is kind of more like the design element budget that we're tracking, or are they?
No, that's both, I believe.
They both.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think Sorry, I have to go back.
So overall, reduction in quantity reduces the sound experience.
Yeah,
So if you reduce the quantity of the wall panels from, would you say 108 to 80? That's key, it stays with, pretty much within the budget that we've already set.
Yeah, for the ceiling panels, what's shown in the yellow right there is 108 panels. If we can figure out a way to reduce that to about 80 panels for the ceiling, that would
We're
be
talking
nice.
ceiling panels, not the wall panels.
correct.
And there are two different products, which Maya's gonna
Yep.
get to.
Okay.
And
Yeah, so
slight reduction, we can get it back to the allowance is what you're saying.
yeah, the acoustician report, if you zoom in here, they had said for the ceiling treatment to be about 2,700 square feet. And we've shown at 35-ish. So we can reduce that number to get
And that would show more ceiling.
some more ceiling. It would achieve all those things. Yeah.
But does every option have acoustic tiles or something on either on the north and south wall?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, they both have this going on regardless of what we do to the ceiling.
Good.
Okay, there any questions on this relating to budget? Want to go on to actually delve into the finished samples and how those relate.
And you'll come back with some different options for color.
Colors.
Okay, we okay to go on? Okay.
I'll come help you clean up the others. Chrissy's gonna run the rest of this stuff. You got that on that grade.
I don't think you've been in person here. Welcome. Oh, they were hiding stuff.
We were hiding.
I watch them every minute.
I'll explain how it's all laid out here on the table and then we can go kind of room by room. So kind of laid out how you see it in plan. Our classrooms are on our left. We have our lobby finishes. And then, well, these are our toilet rooms and then these are the gym. So we'll start in the classroom.
Okay, sorry, I was writing notes. I'll get back to it.
So we have rendering for all of these. We basically have two options for the classrooms. Each option has a LVT or a carpet. So they kind of have different feels to it. So this first option is a little bit on the warmer side. So we have a nice warm, but not too red LVT. And then the other option for that is nice warm gray carpet. So these will all have the same field white color, this natural tan. And then this intellectual gray is for. What's it called?
Was it dumb gray?
This intellectual gray is the accent color for the LVT. And then for the carpet, we have this accent color of the Keystone gray, which is also being used in the lobby. So there's some cohesion there. So those are the first two options.
Let me ask you a question. Why would you even consider carpet in rooms that are going to have arts and crafts, paint, metalworking, all kinds of different crafts? It would just, you can't mop it up.
Great question. So in the classrooms, there is an open ceiling. So that's a hard surface up there. So when you have a hard surface on the floor and a hard surface on the ceiling, you have 100 kids in there, it's going to be really loud. Carpet would be able to dampen the acoustics in there.
But the maintenance.
They are also carpet tiles. So if one got damaged, you can just pick it up and replace it.
But if you got paint or something on the carpet and there were more than, I mean,
Yeah.
replacing tiles every other week, probably.
Yeah, I mean, teach an art class for the, the Cannon Beach Summer Camp. And I'm telling you, it just is, it's not workable to have carpet if you're going to have arts and
My
crafts.
first thought.
And not only that, yeah, and not only that, I think well, for me, I'm into cleanness and I think carpet's filthy, but that's my own problem. I just think that the warmer wood is so much nicer, the fake wood. I know it's fake wood, but it's still wood, looks like wood. And it's just, and the lighter wood too. I mean, I have rented 3 apartments recently with that floor and it makes the apartment dark. And we were always complaining when we walk in the door how dark the room looks because of that dark floor. So I'm just saying, for me, the lighter wood is so much more workable. I don't care about intellectual gray or dough gray or whatever, whatever would work. Even using the gray that you say is in the lobby and it makes a nice cohesion would look fine with the wood. So if you wanted, if that works, and that would be great. But to me, that looks really nice.
Dustin has.
We're showing wood tables in here. Is that even an accurate?
There's no materials for furnishings or anything like that has been chosen.
I mean, I'm guessing we're gonna have, white vinyl folding tables. So it looks nice with all the wood, but I'm not sure it's very realistic.
Dustin,
But the wood tables?
Yeah.
Well, we're not having that discussion now. Let's wait on that.
Dustin, did you want to say something?
Please.
Yeah, thank you. Just real quick, there's an option to, I think Chrissy's spot on. We looked harder at the at the carpet tile because of acoustics. Because it really wasn't in the budget to do acoustic treatment at the ceiling in the classroom spaces. But what I would add we've had pretty minimal exposure to the group that is recommending, various types of uses for these spaces. But what I would say is if one classroom, for example, could be a dedicated workroom classroom, and this is the space that's going to see the brunt of, for example, HRAP work sessions or, arts and crafts or metalworking, that be the space that has, a harder working surface at the floor that can be mopped up or swept up. And then carpet tile perhaps in 1 or 2 other classrooms where it's more of a meeting type room, more of a social room and less of a work room. So it doesn't have to be the same in all 3 classrooms, and that's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Doesn't that be the same in the one with the dividing wall?
In those 2, it makes a lot more sense for those 2 to be the same. I think there's probably a workaround for that, but I wouldn't recommend it. I think the 2 that are joined by the folding partition, we would want to keep the same.
And I've got to say, for an art class, you're never going to have 100 kids. There's no way in the world you can have 100 kids in an art class. It doesn't work. 20 is about the maximum amount of children that you can deal with in an art class. So
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think there's-
Noise is an issue.
it's never an issue. In fact, the noise is great. All the giggling and laughing, and I love it,
Try to do some sort of a presentation in that same room, and then there's an echo.
Well, that was
Well,
my thought. So as far as a presentation,
Yeah.
is it still a problem? I mean,
Or how about a movie? I mean, if you're projecting a movie and there's no acoustical, setback there, is that going to be a problem for hearing?
I don't think it would be a problem, but it might be something that's a little bit more noticeable if you didn't have something to help dampen.
And like in this room, we have ceiling tiles and carpet. And this relatively flat sounding room.
Yeah.
But you take those things out, it gets a lot brighter.
you couldn't even have a movement class or a yoga class in one of these classrooms if you have acoustical carpet. It's kind of icky. I don't know. I just don't think. I don't know. I'm really. Oh, anyway,
The one thing that I don't believe we've talked to R&W specific to this too, like how much is it really gonna help in a larger, like if you open up those two classrooms? So we've been focusing on the gym to really get that dialed in. So I think we can take that back and have a conversation, you know, if we do a carpet tile in these two rooms, how much is it actually gonna improve the acoustics? And is that then worth the trade-offs that you're talking about, durability, cleaning, all of that stuff? Because that's my first reaction too. Like my gut reaction is we probably want a hard surface floor in there, but for the question of acoustics, I think we need to have that conversation with the.
people coming in with muddy feet to see a movie and in the middle of winter on a rainy day, you know, all you need to do is a swipe with a mop when you're done.
Yep.
Damp mop and you've got all that
When you,
mud up.
when you have a regular, a normal school, they don't have carpet on the floor in the classrooms, do they?
No, not in the schools I've been in.
That's why Barb is telling them to be quiet.
Yeah.
Actually, when we remodeled.
Linoleum.
Broadway, the only carpeted rooms for the library and the computer lab.
Okay, so there wasn't carpet in the classrooms.
Yeah, they use linoleum in most, or some kind of linoleum tiles or Congolium or something like that.
How old we are.
Can wipe up.
Yeah, so why would we have carpet in the classrooms?
Yeah,
Yeah, my feeling right now is the lighter.
Lighter than- So the
But-
darker one does give more contrast just visually. And when you walk in the space and
Yeah, but
it's opened up like that.
Because again, we're looking at pictures with wood tables and so,
we're gonna have light tables one way or the other, probably.
yeah, they're probably gonna be, they're probably gonna be this.
They're gonna be covered in, you know, paint. and plastic.
I'm not sure how much we can interior design colors, but I think I prefer the lighter one.
Yeah.
And too.
It's very nice space. For this lighter wood, we do have a nice warm, darker plastic laminate for the cabinets and a nice lighter countertop to go with it. It's really hard to see in these because they're in the corners of the classrooms. Oh, unless she zooms on in.
On that, it looks green. I know it isn't.
So both of these look okay with them. I have more if these are grossing you out in any way. Or if for some reason you didn't want a light countertop because of how much it gets messy or stuff gets stuck to it or something like that.
No, well, yeah, paint on a dark countertop is a mess too, so,
Right.
you know, whatever supplies you're using are gonna show equally on dark or light countertops. So I think it'll end up depending on what's most aesthetically pleasing.
Do you have a lot of people like a lighter cabinet with a darker or a lighter countertop with a darker cabinet, but sometimes when you have a lighter flooring, you want to have a darker countertop just to show that contrast for somebody who it just helps like aging in place sort of. So when your eyes are going and you're having that difficulty of seeing exactly where the corner or where the edge of a table is, having that contrast between what you're standing on and what you're trying to get to helps as well.
So I'm sorry, I'm not seeing what the difference, I don't like that,
Don't like that. No. Anybody else?
but I think that looks pretty good.
It's not that big, so it doesn't.
Yeah, I think that looks pretty nice.
Patterns too. They also have some patterns in there as well.
What all of our houses would look like if we just designed by committee here.
Oh, my goodness, that would never work in my house.
So this would be what, the cabinet, and then this would be the countertop?
Yeah, the lighter one is the countertop.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I like it too.
it's nice with the floor,
That's fine.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then we have that intellectual gray, just to give something.
What?
Intellectual gray
Which one's intellectual
This one.
gray?
For what?
for the accent wall. So right now I have it on that dividing wall, and when it's a full wall, but, or the
soffit.
the soffit.
But it's very warm, that gray. The intellectual gray is
Yes,
very
it
warm.
is.
Yeah.
And you can tell the difference. This is dove gray. That was something in the other one, and that one is a very cool toned
Yeah,
gray.
it is.
And you can tell the difference there.
Then we need,
I prefer I guess it's the intellectual, just because I don't want dark gray in a classroom in the middle of winter.
yes, I
And
know.
this is it next to the white that we've.
That looks good.
Yeah, that's right.
That's pretty. It really is.
The white
Fine.
color. Perfect. Yay, classroom.
But we don't have a lot of rooms.
Yeah.
No.
I have a question for Dustin. So the floor of the lobby is currently what?
Well, that's a very good question. So what we had in the design development set that was previously priced. So you remember we've got that, the pattern, of the map of the, Northwest coast from Astoria, from Astoria and the Columbia River down to, just south of, Nehalem. Yeah, there you go. We were looking at a combination of tile and concrete in there. And in doing some more research on options for how do we really make this thing something special, this map on the floor, how do we get the level of detail that we want to get to be able to convey this story? We're now looking at an option that is entirely pigmented concrete. And I won't go into too much of the detail, but basically you end up putting a stencil down on the floor, and sandblasting, and then everywhere that has the stencil stays nice and smooth. And then everywhere that gets sandblasted gets a texture to it. And you can control what that texture is and how much of a difference between the polished concrete and the textured concrete. But you can get very detailed to the point where you could even have a template around the text on the floor, and have very readable, very precise text. And that's how you would achieve that on the floor, that the text, as opposed to having to get a little more creative with it.
Okay, you don't have to keep going with that on my account, but because my question then is, so whatever choice is made, that's going to extend in the hallway to classroom 1? To the
It
door to
is.
classroom 1?
It is. And something just to note here, and I know this is off topic a little bit, but there's about a 3-inch difference in slab height between the gym and the classrooms. And this little hallway that you're talking about is where we're going to take out that 3 inches. It's still going to be ADA accessible, and it's nowhere near the steepness of a ramp, but just know that there's going to be a nearly imperceptible difference in height from that sort of west edge of the lobby down to the east entrance of classroom 3.
And partly where I'm going with that is because that classroom 1 is really more like exhibit space, likely.
Okay.
And so I'm just kind of trying to visualize the transition from one to the other, where we might like it to flow a little bit more.
Gary, can I ask a question? When you're using 1, are you using 1 as the furthest east, furthest west?
This one says classroom 1 is the one that's furthest east.
Okay, so it's
No.
classroom view.
no,
It says 3, sorry.
Yeah,
It's very small.
Had to zoom in, but I'm with you.
based on your comment, because it would seem that they would get rougher as you move towards the west.
Rough.
Classrooms, well, it's where you would have painting and metalwork and things like that would probably be the farthest west. And then your lectures and things would probably be the farthest east. And what I heard was, it was kind of like the opposite. That's why I asked you the question.
No, my question is if this is an interpretive center, where are the exhibits most likely to be?
Mhm.
And they're most likely to be in that Eastern classroom,
Classroom 3.
classroom 3. So that's, again, I'm trying to think, you come into the lobby and if you want to see exhibits, then you're going down the hallway into classroom 3. And so I'm just trying to visualize the transition from the flooring types and what makes sense.
I have to say, I am so excited about that sandblasted concrete. I just think that's, because I've seen pigmented concrete and in different display areas, and it can look gorgeous. It really can. If it's done well, it's beautiful.
I think it can too.
Yeah.
And so my question is, does something like that make sense to continue it into classroom 3?
It would depend on cost.
You'd be doing the Pacific Ocean.
What's that?
Doing the Pacific Ocean as you move further west.
Classroom 3 could be the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, you might even see Hawaii there in the bottom left hand corner.
I see Alaska from the window. So.
I guess the question is one of the cost is one of the questions there. So would it be a lot more expensive to continue that look into that space?
And I'm gonna ask Dave to speak to that, but from a functionality standpoint, I think there's a lot of sense to keeping it the same.
I think it would look cool.
Yeah, so the field, the ocean side is actually just polished concrete, which if you remember, we took as a credit or I guess deduction for the bathrooms already. So it is actually less than adding a product onto it. So one of the things we can look out for is how that existing concrete reacts to the polish, because there will for sure be a difference between the new concrete we're putting down and the existing concrete. So if we're polishing all of it, we want to make sure that either we acknowledge the difference between old and new concrete or try to blend it somehow.
I'm not
Something
sure,
to think
not sure I'm clear on that answer.
He's not clear yet. He doesn't know the answer.
Okay.
Question.
Is
It
it
is less expensive to do the polished concrete. If you were.
okay? So it might be a cost reduction to make it flow through with a single flooring material.
What are those tiles for?
Well, let's get this question answered for, are you talking about just for classroom 3, or are you talking about
No,
just
making all
classroom
of the
3.
classrooms?
Just classroom.
Just 3.
So I'll just classroom 3.
Which at some point we should stop calling it a classroom, but
Yeah, well, it is a classroom in terms. Okay, so you said something about old concrete versus new concrete?
Yes, that portion of the school is going to remain, that flooring or that concrete in there will remain.
Really?
And then the area where the lobby is being built up is actually going to be new concrete, and they react differently. Old concrete, just because the mixed designs, the aging of the concrete. So there will be color variations, different texture variations. That's just to be aware of as you're thinking about what the concrete is like.
yeah, you're actually talking about then polishing the existing concrete.
Yes.
Okay.
Rather than pigmenting and pouring new concrete on top of it.
Correct. We don't have that price covered in pouring a topping slab on top of the existing concrete. So there's a couple ways to go about it. You can add pigment to the concrete truck when it's here, and you can pour that pigment into the concrete so it's all uniform throughout. You can dye it as a top coat. And you can also do like an acid etching or dye to it. The most consistent is obviously dyeing the concrete truck, cement in the concrete truck. But that will be hard we won't be able to do it to the old concrete. That will just, because obviously it's there. So we'd have to mess around with how to get that as close as possible. But
Okay, so the concrete in the lobby is all new concrete, and that's going to be pigmented.
we haven't determined that yet, but
Or is it just going to be
Proposing it to be.
rather, because otherwise, how are you going to show the differentiation of the topography or
Yeah, so I'll jump in here. So this is the sample that we have of, we're proposing pigmented concrete and not stained pigmented concrete is all the way through. So what happens with stained concrete is that after a while, you'll start to see where people are walking. So this is why we want to do it this way. So how the sandblasting works is that you can put different aggregate into the concrete, and when you sandblast it, that aggregate becomes more visible. And so that's what gives it that texture. And so on one side, we might have this nice, smooth, polished side that we were thinking of having it be the ocean side of this flooring. And then the other side had that more texture and I guess definition to it on the land side. We can flip it if you would like
But
more texture.
maybe the same color?
It could be different. It's more practical to have the same color, but you can definitely tell the difference because you have that kind of speckledness into it of that aggregate.
Okay, another question on the transition from lobby to hallway. In the hallway, are we talking about the old concrete too?
Yeah, I believe the old concrete.
So we are gonna be making a transition from that pigmented concrete, if that's what we go to.
At the screen, this area is the existing slab,
Okay,
right? So that's existing slab that it is.
we already are transitioning from pigmented concrete to trying to match the polished concrete into the hallway, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out what that condition looks like.
So we were talking about that briefly before the meeting started, and does it make sense to kind of the flip side of what you're saying, rather than bring the lobby flooring in, does it make sense to have that classroom flooring come out into the lobby up to that level? And does that make sense? We haven't completely thought that all the way through at this point. So there's a whole bunch of different options that we could do. It's just a matter of
Okay.
finding the right one. I do. So can I'm gonna stop sharing and then try to reshare because I have some pictures.
Sounds like that option is increasing costs.
Well, I don't know, quite honestly. I mean, the little bit of flooring that we would add there versus trying to grind and add pigment to the existing, I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, that
I think we
seems
need
like
to
it could
come
be a,
together on what the design, couple options are and price that. I don't
yeah.
have that priced out right now.
So I don't know if this is gonna let me toggle and share. No.
Let Dustin come up with a great idea.
So this is a zoomed in image of what that looks like. So this is all the concrete, and this band here that looks, much more rough is where it's been sandblasted, and then the polished concrete is off to the side.
But in the original drawings that we saw of the lobby, you could really tell it was the ocean and the land, and it was really cool. And a lot of that had to do with very subtle coloration differences. This is all monochromatic.
It is, but I think that texture is gonna change the color as well, and
You can see some reds and
I'm gonna try this again, if I can show you.
And the ocean will be the color of brown concrete.
So see this, you can see where the aggregate has been exposed more along here, so it turns much darker versus the kind of shinier polished concrete. And this is very structured and linear, so it's not gonna be the exact way to envision it, but this at least lets you see how just the texture change is gonna change the way the light reflects on it, and therefore the way your eye sees the color, if that makes sense.
I'm kind of disappointed in that.
In the color change here?
No, in the use of just the sandblasted versus the polished rather than any even subtle pigment change for water. I mean, I don't know.
Go back to-
Like, it doesn't look at all like your original drawing.
We can look into having having two different pigments. That would add cost, because you're buying that pigment.
But that was what you showed us when the original pictures of that lobby, that was one of the most spectacular features of it, was that map on the floor.
Would be through a stain process, so with that same templating, what we do is, it's kind of a process. You go through, you grind the whole slab and then you stain it. And then you put the template down and you'd shoot or shot blast the land or the ocean, whichever one you decide to choose. And that really picks up, it becomes a new template to then color. So you could do a couple different colors here. There's other examples that we found that people in my company have done before and I've found online where there's 20 different colors. I mean, technicality of doing all that, I haven't really done before, but we can figure that out and provide an option.
I don't want it to look like Disneyland with, bright changes of color, but it could be just very subtle
To get that contrast.
to get that contrast, between land and sea. Which, I mean, I just remember going, wow, when I saw that original pictures we were shown in the very beginning when everybody was here.
Is this the original?
Please, so, yeah. Oh, I just moved stuff.
It's not locked.
It's not locked, clearly.
Dustin, you wanted to say something?
Oh, just something real quick. And, this is one of those real artisan applications. And this is not one area where we're going to want to cheap out with samples. We're going to want to see options. We're going to want to see physical samples for verification and put those in front of you so you know exactly what you're going to get. So,
Okay.
David, correct me if I'm wrong, but we should be able to get various options of pigmentation and level of sandblasting and really dial down the effect we're looking for before we ever get this actually applied on the project.
Yeah, there'll be a few rounds of mock-ups.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not looking for Disneyland,
Mhm.
And I don't want to take away from the photographs and the basketry, but I remember that this is the picture that people saw,
yeah,
when they came in here for all the public hearings.
Outreach.
So,
Right.
outreaches. So,
Well, and I hope you will give some consideration to the transition lobby, hallway, classroom 3, especially if it reduces the cost.
yeah.
are you envisioning that's the classroom 3 is a continuation of the lobby space, or do you think that's more of like a classroom space where?
No, it's less of a classroom space.
It's an exhibit.
It's more of an exhibit space.
Exhibits.
That's more part of the lobby.
But it could be used as a classroom.
It could.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be,
Lecture.
everything's gonna be
That-
multi-use, but on it,
I still see, if you look at the classroom image, this one here. I still see that this flooring here could be an exhibit hall personally. So I think as long as that flooring plays with what we're doing in the lobby and they speak to each other, I think it's gonna be. Don't necessarily have to be the same exact for them to be part of the same function. But
Yeah.
actually, I think it might be good that, okay, now you're entering into this and this is what we're presenting you.
I was just trying to visualize where that transition.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we were having that same conversation just before our meeting started.
Okay, so the blue
No, tiles.
Here.
tile.
Yeah, so, Maya, if you want to go to the south view of the lobby.
This of the lobby? Oh, this guy?
Might be the last one, because there's only one image of that. Okay, so this is the south view, so this is looking at the main entrance. Where this tile comes into play, one of the, I guess, trademarks of the Clatsop Nehalem tribe is this blue bead that they have, and it's very beautiful. So we wanted to highlight that in this space as well. So as much as you can zoom in, we were planning this informational wall that tied together with the flooring. So the tile itself was going to be the background, and there's different patterns of this tile that's available. I believe the one that's showing is this clipper pattern. There it is. So it's a nice shiny really brings out that blue. So that would be the background to this beautiful informational wall that we have used in our own office of these wood plaques that can be carved, which tells a little bit of their story as well. And then each one of the little dots can connect back to the floor of like in a little emblem and saying in this spot on this date, this is what was established, or just kind of tell their story through there and really bring it out and just put it on display. One of the other things of the lobby here is those little circles and can't really tell, but it's white tile, and that's just another possible way to display that blue bead of theirs and tell their story. So that's what this blue tile is. These two paints are just accent paints. Again, those can change. We have car decking on the ends to really give that kind of longhouse feel. Now, something else that will play towards an exhibit in that third classroom is when you go into that hallway and you walk past this informational wall. This right here is a wall covering that we have on the ceiling to also kind of give that feeling of a longhouse, and you're stepping in, it encloses you a little bit, and then you walk into this space where you can see all beautiful stuff or have a lecture. So it just kind of gives a different feel to the space. So that's what this material is here. Again, comes in different colorways if you wanted it more warmer or even darker, but this one plays well with a lot of the other colors we have in the space. And then of course, this is the concrete that we have pulled, and we'll look at other options to be more contrasting.
So the wall with the dots on it, is that going to be informational as well, or could that be used at more of a gallery space kind of?
So that was a gallery space, and something else that we were talking about with Bruce and Rusty was the mural that is in the gym, relocating it into this space, and that kind of corner right there would be a nice showcase for it.
That space?
It's,
Maybe not all of it.
yeah, because it's
I thought it was this.
probably as long as this room, isn't it, Rusty?
And again, I don't know the logistics of the actual, but we have talked about potentially if you can take a snapshot of it and then digitize that and turn it into a wall covering. And so maybe it's a piece of it, and maybe that gets peppered in other areas to, because I mean, the backdrop of this lobby is, yes, tribe, the community, it's all of the aspects. So
I love that mural.
multiple things to be shown here.
I'd love to see the mural
Yeah.
presented. That would be great. But I thought, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that mural was wide.
It is.
This wall is long. So are you putting it this way?
No. It would probably just be a portion that kind of hit that corner and then have some sort of statement giving some information to it. Or we could do what Maya said and just give it more space to speak in a digital way instead of taking it, because nobody wants to do that. But there's options to have that highlighted within the space. One other element I want to highlight are these little cans that you're right on the mark, Maya. These little cans right there. It's hard to see in this perspective. We're talking it through a little bit more with our lighting rep, but these lights are kind of all individual, and they're suspended down and they form a wave at some point. So that,
Different levels.
yeah, so they're all suspended at different heights to create a wave, and that kind of leads you through the space and takes you out to the courtyard as well.
Very cool.
Any other comments on the lobby?
I have a question about the blue.
Yeah.
Is that, that seems a lot darker than not an expert, but a lot darker than the tribal trade bead.
So their feed is like a cobalt blue, and this just has variation in it, and it's against
It has cobalt in it.
cobalt in it, so it just shows, we can look at different tiling options as well. If they said that doesn't represent us, say, then it's out of here.
Is that something Tribe has been involved with there at all, or this looks a lot more
They've seen.
like the,
Yeah, so it's the same, this is just,
It's the same tile. That sample just is probably taken from this little darker section of the tile. Samples, you never get the full spectrum of the variety of the different shades, but it would have the lights and the darks.
It'd be nice. I agree with Gary. I'd like to see the tribe involved in the
Yep.
selection of the
Absolutely.
color.
I think it's a very specific
Absolutely.
color.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
the color that they couldn't reproduce,
Mhm.
Right.
and so they were very attracted to that trade bead color.
so let's run to the gym now. We can talk about. So we kind of went through the acoustical options here. And I have two of the three options we're proposing. This is the Wiltec panel, so this is either that top panel that runs vertically with it or the wrap, so you can just see how like soft and light it is. And again, that can change color based on what they have. So if this falls from the ceiling for some reason.
Right, not gonna hurt anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Boy, that's.
Let me see if I can.
It's not
let
just.
you with full-
It feels like it's foam rubber.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it?
I found something.
Huh?
I think it's very close to being foam rubber, but
Yeah.
it'll absorb sound, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And then this one is just a physical sample of the cloth that is around the lavender,
Which is
which is
this
one.
We're not gonna.
Which we're not.
The one that's disturbing or what would happen to it, even though it's cool looking.
So one element that we really loved to bring out in this space that we have the ability to is this flooring that we've chosen. It is a multi-purpose flooring, so not only is it okay with sports, but it's also holds up to chairs and tables that are on it and won't be dense or anything like that. It has been in many famous like volleyball courts and basketball courts and all of that. What's pickleball,
most importantly,
most
pickleball.
importantly, which are represented by the white lines on there. But this is their cross-cut design, which I think plays very nicely into the community's history with logging. So it just kind of gives that extra element to the space, kind of elevates it, and you walk in, you're like, wow, this is a different space.
And this won't be a sprung floor, so this gives resilience to avoid shin splints and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah,
Pretty.
that's the brand.
Yeah, that's the brand floor. So yeah, this is a multi-purpose flooring and we've talked it through with the rep. Okay, what level of it will it fit with chairs and playing? And
And we use it a lot in our church projects where they have a multi-purpose gym that's a gym and a chapel and all kinds of things. So we've used it on lots of other projects.
And how do you achieve the striping?
so.
Painted lines.
Mhm.
They are painted.
Mhm.
That was one of my questions, because it says. Okay, yeah. I was wondering if it gets painted or if it's
Tape.
somehow the same product in color, but
Right, no. And I believe that there is a rule for pickleball that it has to be white lines. I think I read that somewhere. So the other ones are negotiable.
We got
We have experts.
experts, and we did the wrong color the first time and that was.
That's right.
I guess we know now.
White lines for those.
And then will we have basketball lines as well?
Yep, so basketball is represented in the, and then the blue is a volleyball court. So they're just different thicknesses. That's why the red kind of hides a little bit just for how it rendered, but yes, basketball is there.
And volleyball?
Volleyball is the blue
It's the
buckets.
volleyball, right? Okay,
Mhm.
good.
And then these are just the three representations that we had for the ceilings. We'll revise that when we're looking at different colors for this Wiltec product.
Okay.
Last thing I wanted to touch on is the acoustical panels on the end. So this is the physical sample we have for it. It is sturdy.
Yeah,
It's like a Rice Krispie treat. Rice Krispie treats.
yeah, but that's what it kind of looks like. But no, it's heavy.
So these are, they're about 4 feet from corner to corner, so they're quite large just to fit the scale of the space. It is in that basket weave to kind of connect to the tribe there and with their colors. So they're very durable.
How do you attach them to the wall?
So there's many different ways. After talking with our rep from Armstrong, the construction glue, I think is what
Yep.
it's called, does it fine as long as, since these are wall direct applied, it is a specific product. There's a ceiling wall ones that they have different attachments for, but the wall ones or the glue should be strong enough to hold
So the ball hits it,
it.
it's not gonna chip off or anything and.
Correct, yeah, they're very durable. And if something sharp, I would say, comes in hand with it, they're easily painted to cover any scuffs it may encounter, but they're very durable.
Do those represent the red and the black that the tribe wants? These samples?
Looks like it.
It's supposed to represent them. If there's a certain color red, that's the closest one. They can also do custom colors for this Armstrong product. That, I believe that would increase the price, but this is the truest red that they had. Any comments on that? Loving the floor?
Yeah, I think the floor is great.
Awesome. Okay. So the last item to hit here are the toilet rooms.
This is what I was waiting for. Yes.
Ending on a good note.
You'll have an opinion.
Oh, yeah.
So
They're not grim, so we're in good shape.
Intellectual.
That one's pretty.
regardless of gender neutral or traditional ones, we're gonna have wainscot tiling, so that goes 4 feet up to from finished floor. The budget called for sealed concrete in there, so we're just looking at wall tile here. So we have a few different options. These are the same. I just wanted to show different examples of a neutral color that they have and a color. On the back, they have a bunch of different colors.
Showing us those.
Sorry.
I like this one.
The blue,
Yeah.
It over.
the blue I felt
Yeah.
the space in Cannon Beach itself.
Yeah.
They also come in a variety of shapes, so it can come in a 12 by 24, a 3 by 3 mosaic like you're seeing, or a 6 by 24, so long and linear. So that's that option. We also have this kind of glossier but still undulating, so it gives a little bit of texture to it. And kind of invites the eye in. This is Olympus, so it's an off-white. Sometimes you don't like white. It makes a place feel very stark, and then you can really see when it's not clean. So this was just a nice neutral, but also warm to it.
So we're looking at the wainscoting from
Mhm.
the floor to the, okay.
Yep, and then this one also comes in this 4 by 12. It also comes in a picket mosaic, which is where it's like pointy on the ends. If you wanted to get that fancy. And then the other option that we have, or other thing we have here is the solid surface countertops. For especially with the traditional ones, we have a countertop and then the 2 sinks in the gym, I believe. For this layout, we have called out just the wall hung counters, which would not, or wall hung sinks, which would not have a countertop.
But we could do that.
But we could.
We could do a wall hung counter with.
I'm just curious why you pick blue suede shoes instead of Celestial Horizons.
Just try really hard not to pay attention to the names yet, because a lot of times it'll put us off.
Names are hideous. They're like, old 50s lipstick colors, but I'm just curious why you picked a darker one like that rather than that sort of.
This Celestial Horizon, I don't know if everybody looked at the back, but it is more of a kind of teal color. And not that we don't have any other greens, but when we have a blue like this in the lobby, we have a blue sea and a blue sky outside. It's kind of nice to stay to this because you'll see it next to another blue and you're like, man, that looks really green now. And of course, they're not right next to each other, but just a bit of color theory there. Did you not like how dark this was?
Right, I don't.
Okay.
And I like it. So
See, I think it looks like the ocean on a very dark gray day before a storm.
It's a darker blue though.
Huh?
In the winter.
Yeah, in the winter.
So we're talking about a combination of these.
So we can, if you like both of these, if you like the blue, but you don't all blue, we can go with a gray like this, or they even have.
And we're talking wainscoting here for those tiles.
Mm-hmm. So they can stay in this 3x3. They can come in different sizes. It can be a 12x24, which is I think what you normally see as a big tile. But since they're such compact spaces, it might be easier to do a smaller tile or bigger one based on labor or what you like to see.
Or cost.
Or cost.
cost,
The wavy one is I think is really nice.
Can pass that around. There are some other colors on the back. If you really didn't like the gray, which is why I mention it. But it is a nice warm gray,
That gray?
the one you're holding.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is a nice, really is a nice warm color.
what color would the walls be then?
So the walls I just have as this still natural tan and more on color theory. If you have it next to a white, it shows up more yellow. If you have it next.
What does it show up with against that?
Lisa, can we borrow?
In the time. So it still shows up white. It's just a little bit crisper.
Yeah. It's blended too much.
The other opportunity, a lot of times that we like to do on the wall tiles, if you stay with a neutral wall tile and then above that paint, you could do an accent color. So we could find a nice blue that's maybe not quite so dark, and maybe that's where you have a little bit of a
That
change.
would be fine, yeah.
That could look really
Like a blue in that family, just
lighter.
lighter.
That would be a really easy thing.
Yeah, because this just blends in too much with the wall color.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think I could see a combination of the gray with the blue as an accent.
I just don't, there's too much gray for me. I just,
What, could I see the blue?
gray outside, there's gray inside. I don't know.
Are we liking the blue that's in the city hall?
Hmm?
Are we liking the blue that's in the city hall?
I love that.
Blue?
Yeah, that's a nice, really pretty blue.
Oh, yeah.
Any
That's a blue.
any thoughts on cost of the tiling, David?
Just looking back at our previous
This
budget,
That's really
we
nice.
took the wall tile
Hey.
bathroom, so I just want to maybe to like look at the pricing on how that, I'm putting it back in and where that goes, specific locations.
Oh, we took it out.
Yeah,
What's that?
We have to have some sort of a wainscot in there for, if it's a multi-fixture, certainly, we might have an argument with this single use. Did you have anything for a wainscot, whether it's tile or?
Current budget is paint.
right now it's listed as paint. It was kind of just a one broad brush, take out all the tile. But we could look at
Oh,
bringing The floor tile, I'm thinking made up a lot of that cost, so we could look at bringing the wall tile back in.
What's that? The floor of the bathroom is concrete?
Sealed concrete.
And so you said we took out all the money for wainscoting and tile in the bathrooms?
All the tile in general for the bathrooms.
All of it's
So
gone.
he was saying now that we're not having on the floor, it might be able to find room for it on the wall.
That would be nice. Yeah.
To these two, do you have a preference of it being honed and satin kind of like this, or did you like the glossiness of it?
You know, I don't care.
Well,
Like
it
that.
depends on the paint color. Depends
I guess
on the color of the paint.
whichever for me, it's least expensive. And
They both have the same cleanability and durability on that.
And were you thinking of that for the wall color? That blue, that would really be pretty with the gray, with blue suede shoes.
Is that what that color is named?
Yes.
Oh,
I wouldn't
So
make
we
that
can
up.
Look at options of this,
Okay.
finding it in a tile that's
That would be really nice.
still within price range, or we can do a more neutral tile with a blue paint above it.
Okay, yeah, if you could find that color in a tile, that would be so cool.
or we could be just painting the walls depending on the cost.
Yeah.
in the wall.
Depending on how much it costs.
Yeah.
Or what,
Yes.
if there's a, if there's a certain purpose for the wainscoting, one thing, but if it's, getting pretty costly, I'd say just paint the wall.
Well, it just depends. It depends if they can find the money to do it. Because it just, I mean, bathrooms really, I think, have a nice bathroom in a beautiful building. Makes
yeah,
a
we want it.
difference. And we're gonna have a cement floor, so no tile on the floor. So I just think that cement floor and painted walls is kind of,
I'd like to know what the cost difference is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Would be industrial looking to me, but
I think if that's where it lands, I think choosing some very specific colors for that painted wall will make a big, big difference.
and do both sets of bathrooms have to be the same? Can the one off the lobby maybe have some tile on the wall and the one in the gym just all be painted?
Sure.
And that would save money.
Sure.
I don't, one of the gym, it's just that you have this beautiful lobby and then you walk into the bathroom and it's like this industrial looking thing. That doesn't matter in the gym.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's a good point.
I think that was all of our finish.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did somebody take notes? I hope.
Yeah, it's going, yeah.
Great. Any other remarks?
Oh, good job. Thank you.
Thanks, Chrissy.
Okay, what else do we?
That was all that we had.
Hi,
Any questions or comments?
Oh, what's next?
well, thank you. There's some,
No, I mean,
Great
what's the
ideas.
next step for,
So we're gonna go back and make revisions to these options based on the feedback. Want to come back again and show you those options. So I don't know if that's something we need to get on the calendar or imminently.
And updating rendering.
calendar with me, so.
I think at least 2 weeks just to be able to get the samples in. What we could do is potentially tack that on to any other conversations if the renderings aren't quite ready to bring back yet.
Tim, what do we have on the 14th?
As far as agendas.
As far as items, is there any?
Items. So on the 14th, now the packet goes out a week early.
I thought we had reserved a couple of those Wednesday meetings.
We do have a one meeting on hold. So if we wanted to do on the 14th, we've got a microplastics discussion, the PD review, Burton scope review, NICUS committee, water resiliency presentation. This is sounding really bad. I'm not done yet. Rate resolution and the city and eval, but I do have a seated date on hold for CBE or CHPD if needed, which is May 22nd.
Okay,
And that was literally set aside just for Stephen.
right.
So,
And for American.
well,
But we would need to send the packet information the week prior for that, or is, okay. So by the 5th.
That'll give you enough time, wouldn't it?
What's today? Yeah.
I mean, it's still April.
That's 2 weeks.
Yeah,
No, right now.
right now it's still April.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay.
okay, it is now officially your meeting. I mean, we can still put city hall stuff if we need to, but sure. It's a go for the 22nd. I'll look at your calendar.
Is that keeping us roughly on our, call it current schedule?
Yes. Yeah, and it'll depend on, David, I'm assuming that, what are you doing your bidding?
So we have a next round of pricing, that we're hoping to present in. So I think we'll need to just figure out if any of these changes will impact the pricing and then confirm that final date. And that will be the 50% construction document set that we'll present pricing on. And that's early June.
Well, thank you all very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
So I guess the only thing I want to just confirm on the options that we discussed today, for now, we're not changing numbers on the gender neutral bathrooms. We're sticking with the as designed until we get further along and understand whether that can get squeezed in or not as far as the pricing increase.
Yeah.
Okay. Projection screens we're just doing for right now. The classroom's going to get the projector and the screen. And then the acoustics, we're looking at the option 1 and 2, but getting those tweaked down a little bit to get, okay. Okay,
Different color maybe for the panels on.
yes, yeah, that would be included in those updates. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody have anything for good of the order?
I would like to find out when we are going to have a discussion on the Holland property.
Oh, yeah.
We need to talk about.
That's mine too. It really depends on the schedule of state parks.
Right. Right. She said they could come anytime we want, but I don't know if that's actually true. I mean, I'm sure they have their own schedules as well.
But it would be nice to reach out and find out when she might be
Yeah.
available to come and
Yeah.
talk.
think we need
Abigail,
on this.
what's the name? Abigail?
Tabitha?
Tabitha?
Tabitha.
Tabitha.
Can you get it scheduled?
Yeah, we can get scheduled. My suggestion is that I'll talk to state parks, talk to the Land Conservancy, find out, what their schedule is, what their expectations are. Report back to you on either the 7th or the 14th. And then we can talk about, a date.
Okay.
But I think we need to find, I'm having trouble seeing, where everybody is in this process. So I'd like to find out.
So,
I've had conversations with with state parks. And they were looking more for us to do, to take the lead on it. I've not talked to the Land Conservancy. But,
you talked to, because we had,
oh, sorry, yes, okay, that was when we talked at that time.
right.
But I didn't get a sense that the conversation that we'd had there, it's a couple of us have had with state parks was in line with the Land Conservancy.
Oh, because the Land Conservancy has been in a lot of contact with state parks, and my impression is that the Land Conservancy is not going to be a steward of this property. It's way too small for them, and they don't do little tiny parcels like
a
this.
Fundraising.
But they would be very happy to help raise the money and handle the money. The city would not have to handle the money at all. That was my understanding. And that state parks, that's why we wanted to have her here, to find out really what she, Tabitha, what she expects from us and hear directly from state parks.
When
I would like to hear from them.
when you say the state parks, expecting the city to take the lead. What do you mean by take the lead? I guess that's the question is what,
That's why I'd like to hear from them,
I think
exactly what they want.
maybe what he's,
That
ultimately.
was, and it was early on in the process and the state parks were looking more to the city or giving it to the city if they were to acquire it, those kind of things, as opposed to the state parks being, but I mean,
well, that's why we need to sit down with them.
Yeah.
that's why I was just suggesting.
But then do you question whether Land Conservancy is ready to go and support this?
I don't know that.
In the meeting we had, he was very clear, and I've talked to him several times since then, that they are very much in support of it. They want to see it happen. There's no doubt about it.
I don't doubt that they want to see it happen. But, and maybe I misunderstood what was being said, but I also saw them kind of backing off. They want to make it happen, they'll do, certain tasks of it, but there's still other parts that they're not willing to do. And I don't have a clear picture with what state parks and what Land Conservancy and the city, how.
can we get the two of them in the room with us?
Why don't we have a meeting and invite,
Yes.
That's what the meeting should
yeah,
be.
we should have a meeting, we should have them here too,
Yeah.
and state parks and the council, and hear what the proposal really is. To what extent do they want the city to be a steward? Do they want to have it something, my impression was as a transition process, state parks taking the lead, and that eventually over time it would transition to the city, but I need to hear it from them.
Yeah.
So can we schedule a meeting with them? Is
It
what-
should be a dedicated meeting just for.
Right.
that topic.
Yeah.
So I'll be sending out your guys' June list of meeting dates because that will have to go to June. Because we're having meetings for May,
Yeah.
but I has started that today, so I'll get that out to you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, I know I heard Beth say that something about 2 weeks, but I guess that's probably not possible for us.
Right.
Within 2 weeks to have a meeting with, but I'd say the sooner we can do it, the better. Because I don't want to let this opportunity run away
No,
and that we don't take advantage because we weren't willing to have an extra meeting. I mean,
Are you,
We're always.
There's also other people's schedules that we have to coordinate with too, not just Tabitha's. So we have to get North Coast Land
Right.
Conservancy too, so we have to work around everyone's.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think John would definitely show up for us.
are you going to offer daytime options?
So Bruce and I did talk about that a little bit. So we'd like to start with night first because that way it's open up to more people that way. So I was just gonna do the night ones and then we'll look and see what it looks like with everyone's schedule. And then if we need to, we can look at day options.
Well, and this meeting that we're talking about right now probably could be done during the day. The parks and North Coast Land Conservancy.
I mean, it would still be a public meeting, but yeah, this is
Yeah.
something that,
Yeah. Because that way, I think that'd probably be easier for parks than sending someone down at night, and also for Land Conservancy, that'd be part of their workday.
We can do that.
Okay. So we'll work on that. Anything else for good of the order? Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thank you. Guys,